Hello students, welcome in our video lecture series for class 12th. Today we will start the second chapter, Consumer Behavior, of the book Introductory Microeconomics. In this chapter, we will study the behavior of an individual consumer and his demand in market for final goods. First of all, we should know that who is a consumer. Actually, a consumer is a person who buys goods or services for satisfaction of his wants, and his aim is to get the maximum satisfaction out of the expenditure incurred by him. A consumer in general consumes many goods, but for simplicity, we shall consider the consumer's choice problem in a situation where there are only two goods. Let's start with the concept of utility. Utility can be defined as the quality or power of a good or service to satisfy human wants. When a ball pen satisfies the need of student for writing, we may say that ball pen has utility. Here I want to make one thing clear, that utility is different from usefulness. Utility means want satisfying power, and want may be for any good, whether useful for us or not. Let's see an example. Alcohol, drugs, cigarettes has utility, has a satisfaction for those who have want for it. But these commodities don't have any usefulness. We in this chapter are concerned with the utility and not with the usefulness of the commodity. Utility depends upon intensity of want for the commodity. Although utility is subjective and cannot be measured quantitatively, yet for the convenience sake, it is measured in terms of pleasure in the same way as length is measured in terms of meters. Maximization of utility is the fundamental basis of consumer behavior. This utility is of two types, marginal utility and total utility. Marginal, as its name suggests, marginal means additional. So, marginal utility is the additional or extra utility derived from the consumption of one additional unit of a commodity. Additional unit is known as marginal unit, and the utility from the additional unit is known as marginal utility. In contrast, total utility is the total of all the utilities derived from consumption of a certain number of units of a particular commodity. Or in simple words, we can say that total utility is the sum of marginal utilities. Later on, we will further elaborate the relationship between these two terms, that is total utility and marginal utility. Now, to explain the concept of this utility, there are two theories. Cardinal theory given by Professor Alfred Marshall and ordinal theory given by Professor Hicks and Allen. So now let's start with the cardinal concept. Under cardinal concept, Marshall gave a law of diminishing marginal utility. This law assumes three things. First of all, Marshall assumes that utility can be measured in terms of money. Secondly, Marshall assumes that utility is not affected by the presence or absence of substitutes or complements. And his last assumption is that marginal utility of money is constant. Students, I know that you are thinking that these assumptions are wrong and not realistic. Yes, I agree. You are right. All these assumptions of Marshall are totally wrong, which we will prove later on. But first we should know that what this law states. This law is the foundation stone of the utility analysis. The law says that as more and more units of a commodity are consumed, marginal utility derived from each successive unit goes on falling. Suppose a hungry man wants food to eat. The first chapati which he eats will give him maximum satisfaction, assume of 100 utils, because it saves him from starvation. the second chapati will also fetch him utility, but not as much as the first one, as a part of his hunger is satisfied by eating the first chapati. Suppose he gets 80 utils from the second chapati. For the same reason, let utility from the third chapati is 50 utils and from the fourth be 25 utils. It is just possible that he may get 0 utility from the fifth chapati because his stomach is full now. And he may get negative utility from the sixth chapati if he eats that. Negative utility means he may fall ill by eating the sixth chapati. In short, as a consumer consumes more and more units of a commodity, his intensity of want for the commodity goes on decreasing, and a point is reached when he wants no more units of it. This is the basic tendency of human nature, and that's why this law is considered as a fundamental psychological law. If we plot our above discussed example of chapati, we can make a 3-columnar table. First column for number of chapatis, second column for total utility, and third column for marginal utility. Suppose from first chapati he gets the total utility of 100 and his marginal utility is also 100. From the second chapati he derives total utility of 180 and his marginal utility now will be 180 minus 100, that is 80. From third number of chapati he gets total utility of 230. Now his marginal utility will be 230 minus 180, that is 50. From fourth chapati he gets the total utility of 255 and now his marginal utility will be 25. See what happens on the fifth chapati. His total utility becomes constant at the 255 and marginal utility becomes 0. 0 because on fourth unit also total utility is 255 and on fifth unit also total utility is 255. And on the sixth unit his total utility instead of increasing diminishes and his total utility is 220 and marginal utility is negative, that is minus 35. If we draw total utility and marginal utility curve from the given table, we will find that our total utility curve will be upward sloping up to 4 units, constant at 5 units and downward sloping from 6th unit. And marginal utility curve will be downward sloping since starting. It will touch to x-axis at 5 units and will go beyond the x-axis from 6th unit. Like TU will be upward sloping, then downward, and MU will be downward and then negative. From these two curves, the relationship between total utility and marginal utility can be framed. We saw as total utility increases up to 4 units, MU decreases but remains positive. This was the first relation, that is when TU increases, MU diminishes. Second relationship, as TU reaches at its maximum or when TU becomes constant, MU becomes 0 and touches to the x-axis. And third one, as total utility starts to fall, marginal utility go beyond the x-axis, that is marginal utility becomes negative. This law of diminishing marginal utility, that is marginal utility decreases with every increase of consumption, is true only under certain assumptions discussed earlier. This law is not universally true. This law may not hold good in the following cases. See, suppose you are very thirsty in the month of June. You go to your home on foot and cries for water. Your mother comes and gives you water in the spoon and you drink it. Your mother continuously gives you more and more spoons full of water and you drink it one by one. Now what will happen? What will be the impact of these spoons full of water on your satisfaction? Does every successive spoon of water gives you less and less satisfaction as the law of diminishing marginal utility states? Will your answer be same if you were given the water in glass instead of spoon? No. The answer in both the cases will be different. In first case, your utility goes on increasing from consumption of each spoonful of water, but in the second case, your utility goes on declining from the consumption of each glass full of water. Can you think why this is so? This is due to consumption of commodity in its standard unit. The standard unit for consumption of water is the glass. If the commodity is not consumed in its standard unit, the law of diminishing marginal utility does not hold good, as we have seen in the case of water. Now, the second exception of the law is luxurious items. Suppose you have one diamond necklace and I give you one more, one more, one more and one more. Will your marginal utility from each successive unit of diamond necklace be diminished? No, because the law of diminishing marginal utility does not apply on luxuries and cash. Third exception to the rule: suppose you eat one chapati and I give you the second one, then your marginal utility from this second chapati will obviously diminish. But if after eating one chapati, bhatura or slice of pizza is given to you, will still your answer be same? Will you still say that by consuming bhatura or slice of pizza you got less satisfaction as compared to the first chapati? No. It means that if two units consumed are not identical, this law may not apply. Fourth exception is its own assumptions. This law assumes that utility is not affected by complements or substitutes, but this is not so. See how. If you consume 1 teacup without sugar, without ginger, without elaichi and without long, second teacup with sugar and third teacup with all its complements, then your marginal utility will increase instead of declining as the law states. It means utility is affected by the presence or absence of complements or substitutes. The next problem with this law is that it does not apply if there is a time gap between the consumption of units. Example, you eat one chapati in the morning at 8 am while leaving to your school. You eat second chapati at 2 pm in the lunch, and the third chapati you take in dinner at 9 pm. Will the law of diminishing marginal utility apply here? Does your marginal utility by consumption of each chapati at a wide time gap will diminish? No. If 3 chapatis are consumed at a very long interval, marginal utility from them will increase instead of decreasing as the law states. It means this law is applicable only if all the units are consumed at a same time. This law is also not applicable on the earlier units of necessaries as we need them. Next limitation of this law is its second assumption that utility can be measured in terms of money. Practically, we can never measure our utility in terms of money. You can never say that from the consumption of this good, I got utility equal to rupees 50 or rupees 100 or rupees 200, etc. Also, the marginal utility of money does not remain constant as was the assumption of law. There is a point to be noted. If a foundation of a building is weak, then how can that building be stand for a very long time? I mean to say that when assumptions to a law are foundation, when the assumptions are not realistic, when the assumptions are not true, then can the law based on it be valid? Absolutely no. Due to these limitations in the cardinal theory of utility, the ordinal concept was introduced by Hicks and Allen. In their theory, they focused that utility cannot be measured in terms of money. Rather, ordering or ranking or preferences can be given to our satisfaction or preferences. On that basis, it is termed as ordinal concept. In their ordinal theory, they introduced three concepts: budget line, indifference curve and consumer equilibrium. In fact, the concept of consumer's equilibrium is the result of merger of budget line and indifference map. But students, due to lack of time, we will keep our lecture till here today. Let's revise what we have done today. We started with the meaning and aim of the consumer, the concept of utility, its two approaches, namely cardinal theory and ordinal theory, law of diminishing marginal utility and failure of this law in certain cases. Introduction of ordinal theory with its three elements: budget line, indifference curve and consumer's equilibrium. In our next lecture, we will discuss the ordinal concept in detail. Thank you.